Some people think the world of literature is dying, but I think that in growing an agency, books are one of the most underutilized resources. And they're really good because not only one, are they really easily accessible, but number two, they provide proven, reliable results from people who've done some pretty insane research. And I mean, take me for example, right? These 4 books that I'm going to talk to you about today taught me copywriting, sales, mindset, and also high-level business strategy to make my business stand out and be completely different, which is one of the key things that's really important in business. And this all resulted in me scaling my agency to $50K per month and beyond. Now, the first book in question is Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. Legendary book. It's kind of weird. Hard copies of this book, since they went out of print, hard copies of this book are reselling for like hundreds of dollars. It's kind of crazy, but incredible book. It teaches you really solid copywriting and marketing fundamentals, and it gives you some amazing examples intertwined with essentially lessons explaining why things work the way they work in the copywriting world. And so whether you're writing ads, especially if you're doing an SMMA, right, social media marketing agency, or doing marketing for clients, this will help you a lot with making your clients' ads better, but it'll help you with cold email, any kind of outreach, running paid ads, just marketing all together. Even if you're like making YouTube videos, for example, completely random stuff, these principles apply everywhere. You know, again, video sales letters, VSLs, webinars, whatever it is that you're doing, these principles are true and hold across all of these different domains, and they're extremely, extremely helpful. And this is just, it's a legendary book. Like, it's a must read in my opinion, and it's even worth reading more than once. Now, the second book on this list is called Spin Selling. Now, I don't recall who the authors are. I think there might be multiple, but either way, essentially these are people who went and did some pretty heavy research in some pretty large scale businesses, breaking down what the top sales reps are doing, what kinds of questions they're asking, in what they're doing throughout their discovery process in order to get prospects across the finish line more efficiently, more effectively, more reliably at the end of the day. So there are 4 kinds of questions. So SPIN in spin selling is an acronym, and I won't explain the whole book for you right now, but basically the book goes over 4 different types of questions that you can ask during your sales call, during your discovery process, and just throughout the sales call altogether in order to help people understand where they're at, where they're trying to go, and what the consequences to their decisions and actions are, encouraging them to purchase from you when you know you can help somebody. Now, one fair warning when you're reading spin selling, I actually made a video about this and I have no idea what it's even called at this point. It's something about, it's like the sales close rate video I made. When you hear these questions, don't just copy them down word for word. You got to play around with them and find out what works for you and how you can ask these questions without people just being like, shut up, tell me your price, because they know you're trying to, do dated tactics and tricks, right? So you need to bring everything up to speed, which is honestly pretty hard to do and takes a while. But just a fair warning there, Spin Selling, great book, highly recommend. Number 3 is The Dip by Seth Godin. Now, this is more of a mindset book. And I mean, you could argue it's a mindset book, but it's also more of a self-awareness book, and it helps you navigate where exactly you're at in your journey to help you push through difficult times, because there's this concept that is the dip, where essentially within a certain part of your process, there's a graph kind of shaped like this. It's a really short book, by the way. But the dip is where you feel like this is a terrible idea. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Should I quit? And one of the things he also talks about in that book is when quitting is actually the smart thing to do, because that's a really difficult thing to navigate also, right? Not only is it tough to know when to start to do something and what to start doing, but it's also hard to know when to stop doing something that's a waste of time, energy, resources, etc. And so he helps you a lot with that, but it's a really strong, really good book for mindset, because everybody inevitably is going to face the dip at some point in any business they start. You start off really excited, then you're like, wow, this is terrible. Then you're like, okay, this isn't so bad. Then you're like, okay, this is amazing, right? But in the wow, this is terrible part, a couple months into your agency, this is where most people are like, I hate this. What am I doing? Why am I doing any of this? What's the point? So if you can understand that that's going to happen, this is grossly summarized. I do still recommend you read the book, but That's kind of like the 80-20 of the 80-20, so to say, of the book. It'll really help you just navigate your journey and get through things a little bit easier, or a lot easier, because you're aware of what's going on. This is a lot of the stuff that people don't really talk about in entrepreneurship. They flash all the fun and exciting things, and they don't tell you that there are points where you're just like, why am I even doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. This sucks. And this book helps a lot with that, which is, again, just one of those things that everybody should be aware of in entrepreneurship, because it's not talked about enough in the beginner communities. Now, the fourth book here is Blue Ocean Strategy. Really good book. They go into some pretty lengthy, pretty incredible examples, to be honest, of how you can essentially combine things from different markets and create a fully unique solution that's essentially like a merger of other ideas to come up with something brand new in business. And they talk about this all the time with some examples that they talk about. One of them is the SUV, because before it was really just sedans and trucks. And what people ended up doing was making something in between. And then what you may have noticed is, there are even things in between each of these, which are, there are vans, which is kind of like between a pickup truck and an SUV in a way. And then there are also crossovers, which are kind of in between a sedan and an SUV, and there are sports cars. And so people are just kind of like taking two things and making something in the middle. And one of the prime examples that they use in this book is Cirque du Soleil. If you don't know what it is, it's basically like this. It's essentially theater and carnival combined into one. And instead of going and competing in this like super saturated, red ocean carnival market, and same with the theater market, they took aspects of both, put them together, and then made something completely new and just blew everybody else out of the water, because they created a blue ocean. Blue oceans are discovered, but in a sense, they're also created. So, just thinking about that right now, technically they're more discovered than they are created, but that's way too deep of a conversation. I'm just confusing myself. Either way, just say you're discovering blue oceans. So that helps you understand, and they talk about airlines and like all sorts of real world examples of companies that just exploded because they did exactly this. And this helps your business be something completely new and completely different, which is endlessly important in business. Fifth book, bonus, is Cashvertising with a $ as the S. I guess that's backwards for you guys, like that. Horrible S. Anyway, this teaches you more marketing, copywriting fundamentals and principles. For example, there are I forgot what they call them, the life force 8. I think they call them like the 8 things that make people want to buy things. For example, health, relationships, wealth, security, things like this. It goes into real strong depth about not only those 8 things, but so many other proven principles of marketing, and it's just another little recommendation of mine. So there'll be something popping up on screen. You can go watch that. Enjoy. See you in a bit.